Hello, welcome back to the FOF Pod. Today we're recording our 100th episode special. I can't believe we've got here.
100, the ton, the century.
Yeah, the century, yeah. Way.
It's cracking one to celebrate because this is a big moment. Who would have thought we would reach 100 episodes?
I've already cracked
of
my alcohol.
us talking. Rob's ahead of time. 100 episodes of us talking about war films that we like and sometimes that we don't like.
I know, it's
And
crazy.
everyone's in like listens and enjoys it, I hope.
Come along for the ride, yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought we'd get even 100 listens per episode, but now we regularly top a few thousand. It's mad, you know, like I can't.
That is mad.
It's crazy. Little old me and little old you. It's like in our bedrooms talking about war films.
It's a bit surreal, I have to say.
It is, though. It is.
And humbling as well, because whenever we meet anyone out and about that there's a listener, it always brings it home that, oh, there's actually people listening.
Yeah, like we record it, I edit it, we upload, we chat on Twitter and things, and because it's on the internet, it just sometimes can seem a bit detached. But when we do meet you guys at events and things, it's really nice, and you know we love how enthused people are about what we do, and we're even more shocked that people want to hear our opinions and things. It's very weird, you know.
Well, I mean, the response to the AMA, the Ask Us Anything idea, shows that people are really interested in the show, and we had lots of like congratulations messages, which was really, really nice.
And before we move on, I just put up a thank you post to the patrons today, but we just want to thank them on here. Everyone who supports the show are chipping in their little bit of donations every month. It really helps us. We can't thank you guys enough what we've been able to do, what we're planning on doing with the money that we're accruing. You know, next year we're going to do a few things that are really going to hopefully blow your socks off, and more on that when it comes. But it's nice to be able to have the funds to do these things.
It is. The support is incredible, not just from the patrons, obviously, who are so important, but also from general listeners and people that share the podcast and tell mates about it. That's also invaluable, and really so humbling that people would be, you know, sharing our humble little show. And it just touches me.
No, it really does.
I'm so glad we started doing it. To be honest, I was thinking about this before we began, and it's been a thoroughly enjoyable experience to just sit down every week and talk about a film with you. It's just been really good.
You see, it's just to, you know, people are always shocked that me and Matt met each other about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we started doing this show. But when people learn...
Yeah, maybe a bit longer, but not far off.
Feels that way. Like, it wasn't very long. If you don't know the story, I was going on World War II TV to do a thing about weapons or equipment we didn't like in the Second World War. And I was a bit contrarian, so I was like, I don't think the SGG-44 is a weapon that a losing army should design in the Second World War. So I was like, they need something like the Sten gun. So I was, because that's cheaper and, you know, would do more of a job because you could give it to more guys. And I was like, hang on, I know a guy on Twitter that knows a lot about that because he just wrote a book on the Sterling at the time. So I contacted Matt and we were chatting facts and things. And then I did the live show. Then I thanked Matt after. And then we just got chatting. And then one thing led to another. Matt was like, do you want to do the show? Do you want to do this war movie podcast thing? And I was like, I've listened to some pods. I think I could do that.
Kind of bonded over a shared love of war movies, didn't we?
Yeah.
The rest is literally history.
It really is, yeah. And then we had I was thinking earlier, I couldn't scroll through all the messages, but I was trying to think of what names we had for the show before we came to fighting on film. Combat on Camera was one.
It was, yeah. We had a couple, Fighting on Film, Combat on Camera, which I quite like.
Yeah, we couldn't do Services on Celluloid because the World War II Museum in America had that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think that was ever really in the running.
No.
Too much of a mouthful for me. Not that Fighting on Film is particularly...
No, it wasn't.
You know, rolls off the tongue, but...
and then the logo,
at least it's descriptive.
Well. Yeah, exactly.
It's got that going for it, hasn't it?
It's got a nice thing, yeah. And then I think I came up with fighting on film.
I think so.
And I literally think I was in like a shop at the time, and you were pushing me, and I was just like, top of my head, like luckily. And then I was looking at I had an old notebook and I found some old designs of the logo that I'd drawn really crudely. And one was like a private snafu Mickey Mouse type mascot riding a weird hybrid fighter pilot film camera thing.
Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah, it was that. Like, because I know Disney used to design like insignia for certain
I've
things in
seen.
the
I know.
Second
I know
World
what you
War.
mean. Yeah.
So it was a riff on that, and then the second one was an AFPU inspired design, but we didn't have enough letters to make it work. The Roundels type insignia badge that Katie, our executive producer, who we'll thank massively, by the way, because she does a lot of background work that
she does.
really goes unsung.
Fantastic website, fightingonfilm.com.
Yeah, the website.
Is all her work.
She designed the logo. She does some of the video stuff for us. She deals with like the legal element of it as well. Keeps us sort of running in that regard. She's just great. She's a silent
Invaluable
partner, but maybe we'll get her on one day. Maybe get her on over Christmas or something. Be like fun.
Yeah, that'd be actually quite fun. Actually,
what's one of your favorite moments, man?
I was trying to think about this because that's such a big question. Like, whenever anyone asks me what my favorite war movie is or my favorite film is, I struggle for that. But then thinking about what's my favorite podcast that I've made about my, a war movie, that's even harder in the way.
I know, right?
Because they're like our babies. But I was thinking about it, and one that jumped out to me was asking Jim about who had the idea to give Clint Eastwood dual MP40s in
Jim Dowdle,
Regal's Death. Yeah. That was just one of my favorite bits of that episode, and I love that episode so much. It was amazing talking to Jim.
Yeah, it was incredible.
He had so many great stories.
It's one of those weird ones because I forget we've done all these things. So
because we keep it rolling so fast. It's a weekly podcast, and we've not really had any massive breaks.
No, we haven't.
Broken up into. It kind of, once you've done one, you're on to the next, aren't you, sort of thing?
100%. So I think in that episode as well, like just asking Jim how the scene where he was driving the self-propelled gun when it gets hit by the Molotov cocktails, and he's saying how, well, boys, they threw the Molotov cocktail at me and I was in a fireproof suit, but then it kind of all went a bit wrong and I had liquid molten flame dripping into my nether regions, and I was like, they better shoot cut because I want to jump out of this thing. But there's some very funny things from a few of the episodes that didn't get in. So like one of my favorite things was the A Bridge Too Far episode with the Attenborough's Private Army
APA lads
extras. And we recorded so much more than made it into that episode, and there was things about people who owned bars not being very nice. There was things about other members of the cast like not getting on at certain times. I can't remember who it was even at this point, but
that's on my list as well. Wind Them Up and Let Them Go, wasn't it? It was just great hearing them chat about all those different aspects of the filming.
Another behind the scenes thing for that, we would emailing them for about 6 months. So I emailed the guy, Sebastian. If you've not read his book, Boys from the Bridge, please go and find it out. It's incredible. But I didn't hear anything for about 3 months. And then he just came back one day and went, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, thank God. And then it just snowballed into this huge thing. It wasn't going to be what it became. But luckily, Sebastian was like, oh, I've got a couple of mates. They'll come on. And I was just like, yes. So it got pushed back. But then what we ended up with was incredible.
Oh, it's so worth it.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I love all those shows where we have people from the industry on. Like when we chatted to Charles Maines about sound design and filming, sound in film. That was something that I never fully appreciated, and it really opened my eyes into the work and the effort and how important that is to making a film work.
Yes, 100%. And all it's like his tales from like working on the Alamo film, and how there's meant to be like a Mickey Mouse sound in there somewhere or something.
Yeah.
It's just weird stuff you don't notice. And then all the things of where he was saying about the age of certain sound effects, just it was incredible. Like some of those
like the Wilhelm
things,
screams, like it's like over
yeah.
nearly 80 years old.
And the ricochets were like sounds were recorded in the 30s, and they're still
Yeah.
being used today. And even now, when I'm watching a film, I'm like, I know that sound effect's wrong. It really annoyed people.
What struck me about that was how over time cinema goes, and everyone that watches films and ingests it as a medium takes on these sounds to be how the thing actually sounds. And when it doesn't sound like that, or it sounds more accurate to what it really sounds like, people are like, well, it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah. Like
That's
I think
what blew my mind.
You sent me a video of a Foley artist recording like zombies crunching, but that's not like
and it's
that's
two
not
bell
what you
peppers.
think it's yeah, it's two peppers being rubbed together. And I was like, the work my brain's doing to tell me that what that is, but then looking at it visually, it's
we need to get a
mind-blowing.
Foley artist on.
We really do.
That would be great.
Anything else, Matt, before we move on?
In terms of like favorite episodes, I don't know whether anyone asked us this. Probably someone did, but we'll come back to it anyway. I'm sure we can pick a few more out later on. Some of the most fun ones are the ones for just really bad movies.
That's always the way, though, isn't it? Yeah,
I know. So like SAS Red Notice was an absolute favorite of mine. I really enjoyed ripping that one. I've got to say, I hold my hands up.
But there's a great story behind that one, isn't there?
Oh, do you mean how they tried to get our YouTube videos taken down?
Yeah.
So because we upload on YouTube as well, on our YouTube channels, we both put up that episode, and they got takedown notices for
copyright struck. Yeah,
that's right. For using imagery from the film. Now they were just stills from the trailer, and that's completely fine. You can use that. And especially when it's considered for review purposes, copyright doesn't apply in the same way as it would for if you were putting up the whole movie on YouTube. And it just seems that the production company probably didn't like the review.
No, we think that
all press is good press, right?
Yeah, we did some digging, and I think it was what gave it away was that it was a piece of software that was used for checking if people had uploaded the film illegally. So it must have been caught on that, and the only people who would be using that would be the distributors. So we pretty much sure that we got taken down because we said mean things about it. But make a better film when we would have said nicer things. So
that was quite funny. Anyway, the copyright strike on
it got removed by YouTube.
It did because we appealed it, and YouTube was like, no, it's fine, it's a review.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was hilarious.
But the other one, of course, is Rebels of PT 216.
Oh God, yeah, that was bad.
Which was a very fun movie to watch. Again, it has the best bulkhead shot of any war movie we've ever reviewed. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to that episode, and I explain it full.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones is a moment with you, and I was trying to find it earlier, and I couldn't. I was trying to work out what episode it might have been on. If anyone knows, but when I've said it, please remind me on Twitter or Instagram. I think we were mid-record, and it was either a movie we didn't enjoy or we weren't enjoying, and Matt cracks a beer, but really audibly. And I was like, oh, there we go, Matt, just cracking a beer, everyone. And it really makes me laugh every time I hear it. But I can't remember what episode it's on, but I know it was one of my favorite things to edit.
I can't remember myself, actually. Don't always have a beer when we're recording, but invariably,
we don't actually. No,
we record sort of quite late on, don't we?
We've got an unwritten rule, really.
That seems highly plausible. If it was a review that we weren't super excited about,
it was. I don't think it was one we were enjoying.
Yeah.
No. And I thought it was during Dirty Dozen December last year when we were getting towards the end of them. But I listened to it again, and it wasn't in there.
That sounds about right. Like I thought it might have been like Dirty Dozen 3 or 4.
It might have been,
because we were definitely getting a little bit out on the. I hope the listeners went, but we were definitely.
the listener numbers on those are good. And the feedback was great as well. Because I think some people just didn't know those films existed either.
No, right?
The amount of people I talked to go,
I didn't know they got to 4. I'll
oh,
be
well,
honest.
you talk about bad war films. You know, there's like 3 dirty dozen movies that you probably haven't seen.
Completely blacked out that Telly Savalas came back.
Yeah.
I'd completely like Die Hard
There's a different
4 and
character.
5. They didn't exist to me.
I know. Yeah.
But now they do, and they're stuck in there now forever.
Before we move on to the AMA part of the episode, maybe talk about the future quickly.
Yeah, that sounds good. And we alluded to it earlier that we got some big plans for next year. Hopefully, if we can get some funds together, we can perhaps put on a couple of really exciting little events. I don't know how much Rob wants to go into them.
No, I mean, I give the rough
we've definitely
idea
got
now,
things. We got things coming, and we're excited about them. And I think it's a good sign of growth for us to do some events like this, because for a podcast that explores film and conflict on film, doing some cinema nights is going to be a really fun thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been looking for a venue for these types of events for a while. We think we found it.
With all things, with a venue like this, and with our listenership spread over not only the UK, but we have a lot of international listeners as well, I guess. But especially within the UK, it can be tricky for people to get to places, and to put on an evening where we look at a classic film, won't give it away. It has to be the right spot, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. There's a couple of places. 2 of these movies are in their 70th anniversary, so they're both 1953 movies. That's as far as I'm going to go. One of them I'd love to do at a certain venue, but it's whether I can get us there. The other one is more easy because you can just rent that space. So that one's more set in stone than the other one. But they're in the process of doing it. And we've got some other good things that we've already sort of set in motion and had okayed. But we can't say anything more because we're on a sort of NDA from the people who are doing the show. So we won't let slip yet. But as soon as we can, you guys will know. Next year's going to be same old FOF, just a bit more out there, we hope.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's to another 100 episodes, basically.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's only took 2 years, and we still haven't done any.
There's 52 weeks in a year, Rob, so we'll get to at least 50, surely.
I was looking on IMDb's like top 10 war movies, and we haven't done any of them yet. So there's years
oh my God,
left.
don't.
There's years left on the show.
Yeah, how we've managed to get 100 episodes in without really doing any of the big war movies.
But we'll do one of them. We'll tick one of them off the list in Christmas, because we are going to do Where Eagles Dare this Christmas.
Oh, big slip. You lay it out.
Heard it here first, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heard it here first.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to find out in like 2 months anyway, so might as
well let them know. But yeah, no, I'm excited to do that because I love that film so much.
It's that bona fide classic.
It is.
Yeah, it really is.
We're going to do it. At last, we're doing a film people have heard of.
Yeah,
it's not quite that bad, actually.
No, it's not.
We're not that obscure.
No,
but that's half the fun, doing the films that people might not have heard of, like Nine Men.
That's the point.
The War Game and stuff that is a little bit more obscure. Bataan, exactly. But that's half the fun. And sometimes it's films that we haven't heard of until we've done digging and we've found them in the course of production for the show.
Well,
because we have a massive list.
Of the listeners have suggested them.
Yeah, of listener suggested ones we've come across. Just films that we think we should cover, and it's probably at least 100, 150 films long now at this point.
We've got so many more, and there's so many.
I know we've got a couple of people in the AMA questions that are asking when we're going to do particular films. And we will get to them.
No, we will. But that's the great thing about this genre. We keep coming back to it. There's so much variation. There's so much. The level of movie is really interesting. You can go from government produced pictures, you can go from propaganda produced pictures, to theatrical ones, to amateur productions. We've covered one before. We did Baskerville BC, which was an amateur film. But there's so
That's
much
one
to
of my
this
favorite
genre.
episodes as well.
Oh yeah, massively. Finding that out and getting one of the filmmaker's friends to come on was fantastic to tell us all about it. But that's why we love this genre, because there's just so much to it. And you could do, this is the whole thing when we started it. I remember we had a chat one night over a few drinks, and we said we could do all the classics in about a year. We try to trickle them out so we can highlight these other films, because you wouldn't get stuff like Nine Men. You wouldn't get stuff like Miss Grant's Goes to the Door. We're trying to boost these movies up, show you what they are. Hopefully you found some movies through the show that you haven't seen, and you guys definitely have highlighted movies to us that we haven't seen.
Oh yeah,
so
that is very true.
Just another big thank you. It feels like a community at this point, and that's one thing I really wanted.
So that's a good point for us to jump into the copious number of fabulous questions we've had from listeners with our AMA.
Hello, I'm Al Murray, and you're listening to Fighting on Film, the world's #1 war film podcast.
So, first question is from Twitter, from JD. He says, congrats on reaching 100 episodes. Great achievement. My question, if you could see a film made of any event, battle, personal unit, what would you choose?
That's a big question. JD.
A good one to kick off.
I think last time we did a AMA episode, I mentioned Imjin. As a battle I'd love to see made into a film. But a couple of others that jump out to me are the Peninsular War. I know we have Sharp and the Sharp series, but a big budget film based in the Peninsular War would be really interesting. English Civil War. There's hardly any English Civil War films.
Yeah.
And then there's the Spanish War of Succession, or the War of Spanish Succession, which is the Battle of Blenheim and those very early 1700s. But it's almost like a global war. The entirety of Europe is at war with itself, and that's a war that no one really thinks about nowadays. And it's got all of the classic politicking, the actual massive, huge scale of warfare, gruesome battles, complex characters. It'd be very interesting to see a film made about that. I know there's a few movies that have been made about the 30 Years' War, and there's a couple of Dutch movies made about some of their 17th century conflicts as well. There's a couple of others that spring to mind, but there's so many conflicts and battles and people that they haven't had a film made about them.
Oh, exactly.
Anthony Quayle, make a film about Anthony Quayle if we're going to pick a person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That would be fascinating.
Make a movie about his wartime exploits, because that would be, you could hit so many birds with one stone on that. It'd be great. For me, I think it's probably a budgetary thing or studio interest. I don't know. It's hard to work out why these films don't get made sometimes, when you think that in the year that we're talking it is 2022. I'm surprised we haven't had any other sort of Falklands projects greenlit or started to be made, just because it's the 40th anniversary.
Absolutely.
There's been some great books lately that I feel that really could be optioned into movies. So you've had Brothers in Arms by James Holland. I think that'd be great if we could get something with British tank crews in. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Make a British Fury, if you will, but base it off of James' books, and that'd be great. Maybe something about the Spanish Civil War that is set in the International Brigades, perhaps, because I think
that'd be great.
As much as I love Land and Freedom, which I know we'll cover eventually, that's more of a remake of George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia than it is a genuine film about an Englishman going to fight in that war. And then if I could have Unit, it would be the first Fifth Queens film in January, February 1945. But I think I've mentioned that before. That's just from a family point of view. But that question, you could just go on and on and on, because it's like we'd love everything to get a movie.
Yeah,
it would be
First
so
Fifth
fun.
Queens would be great. I mean, a big black cock movie would be amazing.
Matt's been hounding me with that ever since. Because the operation that my grandfather fought in is called Operation Black Hawk. Let's square that one up.
So
But
I'm
yeah.
lowbrow.
No, it's fine. It always gets a chuckle. But no, that's great. So maybe we should move on to our second question.
Yeah. So Casper Olsen said, congratulations on episode 100. Which episode has been the most fun?
We alluded that earlier in the
We answered
show.
this a little bit. I will say that I really enjoyed Commando as well. That was a good one. Merc Month was good.
Merc Month, yeah. So I'd say Commando is one people always talk to me about. They always say they love that one.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I do think it's either the AMA, the APA episode, Bridge Too Far,
Yes.
or even a Bridge Too Far of Al Murray was really great.
Yeah, that was fun too.
Or with an episode with just me and you, I actually quite liked our episode on Bataan. Thought that was quite fun.
Yeah. I agree. Pork Chop Hill was a recent one I really enjoyed too.
That was good.
But yeah, there's two types of fun. There's the fun where you can have fun with a film that is quantifiably terrible, and you can rip it a little bit. And then there's films that are either personal favorites or films that you think or we think are really important and really interesting. You know, like Nine Men, or Theirs Is the Glory, or Pork Chop Hill, or Jenny's End. You know, that we've done quite a few of them now where I think there's films that we've enjoyed digging into, researching, and then discussing in depth. Yeah. Those are equally fun. Casper's question continues, of the films that you've seen before and revisited in order to review, which have surprised you either positively or negatively?
Windtalkers.
That was what came to mind for me first as well.
Yeah, because I love that film. As we say on the show, on the episode, I love that film when I was younger. Thought it was really good, and it disappointed me because because you go away, you review every week, you go in depth, you get production notes, you look at books, everything you can sort of find to get an overview of a film before you start reviewing it, because we can review in hindsight, which is fantastic. And then the more you learn about that movie, the more you learn about the production, the money put in, the things made, produced for it.
The missed opportunities.
And you think, oh my God, how about that film was actually really bad. But it didn't have to be. I think that's what annoys me more when we revisit things. And then positively, it'd be a film like something like what's the film? Objective Burma.
Yeah.
So I went into that one with this preloaded thing of, because you hear all the stories of, it was the Americans taking back Burma. It disparages the British effort in Burma. But then when you look at it and you watch it, you think it's actually a good movie. And then you go away and you learn about the foray and all that, and you think, well, that's been pumped up more than it should have been at the time. But you can completely understand. You've got a whole section of troops that are still fighting over there, thinking that they're being forgotten about, which I can completely get behind. But then in hindsight, you can think, well, actually, the movie itself is quite good. So that was one I was surprised that I would enjoy, because I thought I would have been in the camp of, this isn't fair to the X amount of guys that were out there. But I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah. One that I enjoyed that, revisiting, I think I would say probably Cockleshell Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
I remember not enjoying that as a kid.
Right.
And then coming back to it, I enjoyed it more. So that one stands out for me. I mean, I know we've said in a number of episodes where we've ruined another childhood favorite by actually going back and reviewing them. That's for sure.
That's true.
Yeah, that one stands out as a positive.
So next question is from David McNay. Any films you're dreading having to cover?
You see, because I enjoy doing the ones that are objectively awful. They aren't ones I dread.
No.
Perhaps ones I dread are ones that are more less clear cut, perhaps.
Okay.
Or ones that I remember unfondly.
Right.
Just films I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. Where I'm like, we're gonna have to get to that eventually. But I remember not enjoying that as as a kid or when I last
Mm.
watched it, that kind of thing. Maybe Forced Down from Navarone.
Yeah, that one always comes up and people say they don't like that
Yeah.
one. I don't mind it.
Some people
in
say
that
they
camp.
really like it, and I
Yeah,
think
I
it's a
don't
little bit
mind it.
divisive. Again, I think that's almost kind of like a waste of a cast
Mm.
because it's got such a great cast.
I'm not looking forward to doing, when we get to it, not Heartbreak Ridge, Hacksaw Ridge with the James Garfield one, because I don't like that film. I just didn't hit with me when I saw it.
I've only seen it
at the time.
once, and I found the ridge. They don't contextualize the ridge very well.
No, they don't.
It just feels like they're on a soundstage, and then there's a cliff.
Yeah.
I don't know the layout of the ground of the actual ridge and where the battle was fought well enough to go, oh, that's correct, actually, so that's fine. Maybe once I look into it when we come to do it, I'll go, oh, okay, so it did look like that. But that's just my ignorance on that, aspect of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And the casting for that one was a bit weird for me too. Like Robert Vaughn playing a grizzled sergeant is not something I don't see him
Vince
doing.
Vaughn. Yeah, totally.
Vince Vaughn, not Robert Vaughn. Christ, Robert Vaughn would have been interesting. Yeah, that's one I'm not really.
75-year-old man.
I know, right?
Cast as a major.
This is a funny episode of Hustle.
Next up, we've got Dan Brazil. He says, "Do you think we need a new Market Garden film? Even dare I say it, A Bridge Too Far, or leave it alone?" Personally, I would say we don't need a straight remake of A Bridge Too Far.
No, I don't. I don't think you do.
I know we've said it before, but we could definitely have an Oosterbeek Lonsdale Force. A Lonsdale Force movie would be great.
There's definitely a lot of good you could do with a new Market Garden film, because I think there's a lot of myths you could actually break down properly.
Yes.
Now that we know more about why certain things happened, and I think you could show 30 Core in a bit more of a positive light.
Yeah.
Maybe show the reasons why they couldn't get where they got, not that they weren't trying to get there. That would be nice. I don't think we need a remake of it because it's such a beloved classic. I think you wouldn't.
No, it doesn't need a remake. It is what it is, and it's good for as it stands. Despite failings it might have, it is a great movie. But yeah, I think leave A Bridge Too Far alone, because I know people like doing that mental exercise of like casting who will be in it now, and that's all great fun in the pub and stuff.
Yeah, it's too hard for me to think that it would work, because I think all the people that you would want are already getting too old. And I think the current way of getting a Hollywood star, or the current way of a casting, I don't think you'd get the people that you'd want.
No.
Anyway,
I mean, Brad Pitt 15 years ago could have done Robert Redford's
he could have
character,
and Benedict Cumberbatch 10, 15 years ago could have done.
Exactly. I know.
Exactly. This is the whole thing of you start getting into.
You can have people in mind, but they're already too old by the time.
Already too old. Yeah.
You get that. Yeah.
But no, an Oosterbeek perimeter movie with Dickie Lonsdale.
Doesn't even have to be a big movie.
Doesn't even have to be.
I would take just maybe a few guys in a house defending a house. Few guys in a slit trench, just a tight little indie movie. I'd take that. So
you want The Long Days Dying, but you want it better.
Yeah. Essentially.
Not to say that film's bad, but no, I know what you mean. Yeah. Maybe one day we'll have to try and crowdfund something. Maybe.
Foff Productions.
If you shave, Matt, you've got a tash. You could do Lonsdale.
I couldn't do. You'd have to do the speech.
I'll overdub it with me. When you
do it justice.
Shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill. Yeah,
we
no, I just couldn't.
In North Africa, France, Italy. Absolutely love.
We've had a good battle, but they're not the best, or whatever he says. I just love that. It's so good. And the fact that he wrote it on a board so he could remember what he was going to say.
And it's still there. You can go and see it.
It's incredible.
One of my dreams is to go there and do all the battlefield tour there. Just love to. It's one of my big bucket list things. So next question. So Rob Shipman asks, he's one of our patrons. Thanks for supporting us, Rob. He says, will you be covering Bat 21 soon?
Hackman and Glover. What more could you want?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think this has become a running joke with Rob, because I think he always mentions it And we were away at the weekend, me and Matt. And I showed Matt this comment of yours, Rob, and he did laugh. But yeah, no, we will get round to it.
There's a dozen films that people ask us about regularly.
Men of Orange is one I always get asked about. Yeah.
Anzacs we get asked a lot about. That'll be an Anzac month. Anzac month next month.
There's so much time to do all these.
Anzac month next year. That's when Anzacs is going to come.
Yeah.
But yes, we will definitely do Bat 21. Probably do Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson and Gene Hackman as well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because that's one of the very one of the very few. That's how the episode begins and ends.
Wow.
For anyone who doesn't know what the hell that was a reference to how Owen Wilson says "wow." Yeah, because that's one of the very few Hollywood movies that attempts to do Bosnia.
Gosh, so it's only that and Warriors, isn't it? TV series. Yeah.
Next up, we have Brian Williams, who asks, "Do you think you will ever review a film with chivalry and swords?"
Oh, I feel really caught out there,
Brian. We did Hornblower.
We did Hornblower.
I had to fight tooth and nail to get that voted for.
Yeah, you did.
Put it in the Patreon pick like 4 times.
I know. No, we will.
But no, we are remiss. Yeah,
we know we've woefully undercooked those. We need to, because it's almost advertising infringement of our own jingle if we don't. But no, we definitely.
You wrote the jingle, so
yeah. Ones that spring to mind, like the eagle about the Roman centurions.
Mm-hmm.
It's that one. There's that one. There's
a couple of Flynn swashbucklers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's yeah. Of course, we will, Brian. So next question. It's Pete the Paint. He asks. Well, he thanks us for all the time and effort put into creating the show. Thank you, Pete. It's very kind of you to say. But his question is: have either of you entertained the thought of joining any of the services? If so, which? Matt?
Not really. Not for me. I've always been fascinated by military history. I've had numerous family members that have served. I've always kind of like thought, maybe I would be interested in joining the army at one point, but I never really. Once I got into doing my degree and doing my master's, just wasn't a career path anymore after that, I guess.
Yeah, I've always had the interest like Matt, as you say. And then it never really occurred to me until I got into my early teens that there's no way I'd pass a medical because I was premature at birth and I have an underlying heart murmur, which, knock on wood, so far has given me no trouble. But I've also got less than 5% vision in my right eye. So I can't fire a weapon with my right hand. I'm left-handed. So that wouldn't help. So I don't actually think I'd pass a medical anyway. So I was thinking...
Not when they're rejecting people for lactose intolerance and stuff.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, I remember telling you that, yeah. So no, I don't think I'd get in. I don't even think I'd get in the TA. So, unless they ever set up a sort of dad's army.
I have seriously thought about the TA just for the experience, and
Matt would be making sure all his books are in the naffy.
Hey lads, have you read that book about the Piat? That's one way of getting the book sold, isn't it, I suppose? Next up, we've got AD Bond, and he congratulates us on 100 episodes as well. Thanks, AD. Do you ever get feedback from directors, producers from the more modern movies that we review? And I think the answer to that is yes, we've actually have a couple of times, haven't we?
We do, yeah. We did Wolves of War, and the director for that listened to our episode, and he commented on the Twitter saying that he felt that we got the point of the movie and we understood what he was going for. And when we did War Below a few months ago, I was chatting to the director over private message on Instagram, and he was quite nice about our review too. And we understood what he was going for.
Oh, some of the guys behind Pamfilov's Men reached out, didn't they?
Well, they did, yeah.
Yeah, they sent us an email thanking us for the review, and telling us to look out for their next film, which I think was about a Soviet lady fighter pilot.
Yeah, it's coming out soon. Yeah, and then we had Stuart Urban, obviously, who directed Ungentlemanly Act,
of course,
and he always says nice things. So yeah, if you're listening, Stuart, thanks.
Yeah.
So Bill, 1940 medal campaign. He asks, You've been given the go-ahead to make a Dirty Dozen-style Men on a Mission movie. You can choose any actor, alive or dead. Who would you cast as your dozen? Try and do this quick.
Yeah, this is hard, but I had a couple of ideas, so
Right.
I've convinced Rob to go with it. First off, Commander with a Secret, Colin Firth.
Okay.
He's got a dodgy secret and no one knows what it is.
Ooh.
Eccentric explosive expert, Adrian Brody.
Yes. Okay. It's come together.
Benedict Cumberbatch as an English officer who has been reduced to the ranks, and you never find out why.
Doing like Niven, doing a Niven-esque portrayal.
Yeah. Doing a Niven, but a rogue Niven.
Yeah. Okay.
Roguish
He's of that
Niven.
age now. He can do that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stephen Graham as a hard-ass Spanish Civil War vet.
Can we have him constantly mentioning that he was in the same trench as George Orwell?
Have you heard of that George Orwell?
You heard of that bloke? I was in the same trench as him.
You heard of that George Orwell? Have you read his books?
I'm in that photo of him in the poom. That's me at the back there. So what was your next one? Sorry, before I interrupted.
Sam Rockwell as the wisecracking corporal.
Okay, Sam Rockwell. So for have you done the Telly Savalas crazy one yet?
No, I haven't. Go for it.
So for me, I'd have a little bit of a younger guy for that one, and I would cast Jack O'Connell for that role.
Okay, yeah.
Because after seeing him as Paddy Mayne, or that version of Paddy Mayne, he can do that. Yeah, definitely. And then I'd have Gary Oldman playing the Robert Ryan guy who sets them up for it. You know, that guy.
Yeah. Nice.
And then I think I'd go for someone to play the Ernest Borgnine role. I think I'd probably have someone like really, really off the wall, like you wouldn't think to cast them. So I'd go for like
like Tarantino did with Mike Myers.
Yeah, and maybe I'd get Peter Kay. Just for like oh my God, Peter Kay's in this. And he's been like, because Ernest Borgnine was a comedy actor, so it would.
That is true. Yeah.
I love how we're making
Peter
like a
Kay
mainly British remake of this.
We've got Adrian Brody and Sam Rockwell in there.
Who's going to be the big rough and tumble tough one?
Ooh,
Tyson Fury.
Oh my God, yeah, that'd be mad.
And then he has his moment, and he boxes a guy at the end, and he just gets to say his Dosser line. Come on, you Nazi Dosser. He just like knocks him out. That'd be Pete. I'd love that. That'd be great.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that turned out a lot better than we thought it would. Normally, we just not do those
because it takes for ages. But that was great.
I know.
I want to see Tyson Fury now in that movie.
Oh my God. Johnny C says, congratulations on the 100th episode milestone. Always enjoy your stuff. Thank you, Johnny. Have you ever considered a feature about one of the Finnish movies about the Winter War or the Continuation War? Some great choices out there spanning nearly 70 years. Yes, Johnny.
100%.
Absolutely.
It's on our big list.
It is. And we've been meaning to do one, but every time we come up to doing one, something else pops up that fits a little bit better at the time, or there's another reason why we do it, like a guest episode, and it gets pushed back. Unknown Soldier 2017. Tuntelmaton Solstice, is it in Finnish? I can't. I butchered that, but 2017. It looks really good. It looks visually amazing. I'd love to do that one. And I have seen some of the other ones. I haven't seen any of the 50s ones. There's a 50s version of Unknown Soldier, I believe, if I remember rightly. And there's a couple of continuation war movies, like the 2010s, that look good. That would be really good to cover. So yeah, they're definitely on the list, and they're kind of just floating on the surface of we need to get to those or start getting to those. Relatively soon.
We do. So next question, it's a little bit off topic, but it still works, and we've not really talked about it on the show ever. So Danny Michael asks us, favorite non-war movie film?
It's hard enough trying to pick your favorite war movie, Rob. I can't. Like, Danny's really thrown us under the bus there. This is revenge for him not being brought onto the show, because we've been trying to organize an episode with Danny. Danny's the curator of the Cody Firearms Museum and a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we've been promising he'd come on the
Gettysburg.
to do an episode on Gettysburg, which I'm really excited for because I like that
Danny,
movie.
We'll get you on, mate.
We definitely will. But
Yeah.
that is hard. That is really hard.
For me, it's Goodfellas, 1990.
Okay.
Because I love that genre, that mobster genre. I'm a big Sopranos fan. I do love Scorsese. Not all of his movies are home run, but when he's doing that classic Scorsese era, it's between that, Goodfellas 1990, just for the cast, Dog Day Afternoon, I absolutely love. I think it's Serpico. I like 70s gritty stuff.
You do. You like 70s American kitchen sink crime dramas.
Mobstery dramas, yeah. Yeah, I love all that. I love Pacino, De Niro. They're some of my favourite, two of my favourite actors of all time. So it's usually that. Glenn Ross, actually, as well. I'd put that up there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, do like it.
Okay.
Because I love character study films.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Good answer. I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Can you not?
I really can't.
Oh, no.
I'm going to cop out and answer Danny's second part of this question, which was, if you could force a studio or director to make a film on any subject, who is making it and what is it about? And my answer there is Tarantino doing a whodunit.
Ooh, okay. Like that one with Daniel Craig in that came out.
Oh yeah. Knives Out, but with Tarantino, and all the deaths would be really grisly. Just imagine, like you're in a country house.
Chris Walken playing the detective.
Who done it? Yeah.
I'm here to fucking solve the murder.
That was equally as bad as mine. That'd be great. All the deaths would be super grisly. The reveal would be insane, and the soundtrack would be amazing.
Okay, I like that.
That's my theory.
I'd like to see, getting back to Scorsese, I'd like to see him tackle a war film because he hasn't yet. So next one is from Tall Bloke. He said, "Why didn't Chewbacca get a medal at the end of Star Wars?"
Okay, it wasn't AMA, so yeah, fair enough.
It wasn't AMA, yeah.
I'd like to think it was alliance bureaucracy and not institutional racism.
I was just about to say the same thing.
They just absolutely fucked it, didn't they?
Yeah.
They forgot. They forgot. They were like, "Oh God, there's 5 of them, not 4 of them."
Shit.
Oh no.
some rebellion officers like pulling his collar, going, "Oh." Even R2 fucking got one, didn't he? R2 C3PO, they got them.
Oh my God, did they?
I'm gonna have to look now.
It's been such a while since I've seen that, and I always turn it off once it gets to that bit because I'm like, I've seen it. Yeah, you don't watch the last 5 minutes of them just like smiling, getting given a medal.
So that's you get the really good light going into the credits music.
But yeah, I'm hoping it's alliance bureaucracy.
I think it's
the Rebel Alliance is just really terrible at ordering the right amount of medals.
Oh no, R2 didn't get one. No, he didn't.
Okay, thank God for that. That would have been terrible.
I was going to say
that really would have been a slight on our boy Chewbacca.
Maybe was it Alderaan? No, Alderaan got blown up. They on Yavin 4, weren't they, when they did that?
Maybe all the medals were left on Alderaan.
Yeah, this is what they could salvage.
Yeah, it's what we had left. It's what we had on the plane.
From the space wreckage, they had like a deep salvage team.
Stop. We should don't laugh. Don't laugh about the genocide of Alderaan, Rob. Come on.
Some big fat rebellion, like space engineers go, "I can only find 2 of the medals. You're gonna have to make 2. But if that Wookiee gets one, I'm gonna hit the fucking roof."
Why is he in a Scorsese movie?
Scorsese Star Wars would be good.
There you go, Danny. There's Tarantino who done it and a Scorsese Star Wars movie. It's got to be better than the last like 4 they've made, or 3.
I don't believe in lightsabers. Give me a blaster any day of the week. Those lightsabers are fugazi. The Force, yes, schmucks use the Force.
My God, like if Scorsese had directed like The Mandalorian or Boba Fett, that would have been so much better.
I
what
want
we
to see
got
the
from Boba
child.
Fett.
Show me the child.
Do you think he would have cast that guy? I've forgotten his name.
Yeah, Skarsgård.
Yeah,
Show me the child. It would have been De Niro, wouldn't it?
it would have been.
Yeah.
Or just completely off the wall, Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito would have been the child.
Yeah, we're
Oh
getting
my
into
God.
always sunny areas of weirdness now.
The gang take an Imperial asset. Right,
So-
next question. That went really off topic. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That was so fun.
That was classic FOF tangentialism right there.
It really was. Last time we got asked about biscuits, so that's not that
That's
bad.
true. That's the most, yeah. I think we've got a few from Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yes, we do.
We got as well.
Tom Legg, now this is a sort of a follow-up to a question earlier. Which film are you most looking forward to covering on the show?
There's loads. Zulu.
Yep.
12 O'Clock High.
Appointment in London.
Appointment in London because we watched it over the weekend.
Yeah, it's fab. Never seen it all the way through. What a classic.
What else? Oh, Our Last Men in the Philippines, which is a really interesting movie about Spanish troops in the Philippine insurrection.
Yep.
What about you, Rob?
I'm looking forward to doing Contact, the 1985 movie, which was about an SAS group of SAS soldiers in Ireland. Because it's one of the few just straight sort of war films from the Northern Ireland Troubles, which is just really interesting because you don't get many films that just concentrate on the British in the theatre. And then there's a film called Captured by Robert Krish, and that's
of course, yeah.
That's a film that deals with British POWs in Korea. And then I'm sort of looking forward to. I know it's a big cop out, but I am looking forward to finally getting to do Saving Private Ryan when we come onto it, because for me that's the war movie that got me into war films, just because of that was the first big one that came out when I was younger.
Well, as we've said, we can't do that until we get either Spielberg or Hanks on. So
I know, right? Or any of the main cast, or any of the people who are involved in it. Just, if you're listening, please, Vin Diesel, come on, talk about how annoying was it to lay down in that rain for so long? How many takes did you have to do? Come on.
What else? I mean, it's a lot of it is the big ones, isn't it? And then
but then we always say about we want to give them the weight they deserve with a good guest or something.
Yeah. Some of the bigger ones, that is definitely a factor.
Like Full Metal Jacket,
Guns and Navarone.
Guns and Navarone,
yeah. There's loads. There's a couple of Polish movies.
Best of Platter Resists.
Yes, exactly. That I'm really looking forward to doing. But yeah, there's quite a few.
So the next question is from Johnny Doyle. He asks, "You're booked in for Mastermind and will obviously get to the final." Now, I assume this is like some celebrity version where you go in pairs.
Well, it'd have to be, wouldn't it?
It would have to be, yeah.
So he said, the least celebrity people there.
Yeah. It's a podcast
Davina McCall
special.
is really, smashing it ahead of us, or someone like that.
Exactly.
Totally, like random.
It's us
Demo
versus VF Waves.
Demo O'Leary is like really done really well just before we come on.
Exactly, yeah. And so he says, you get to the final of Mastermind. What films would you choose as your specialist subject rounds, and why?
What about you, Rob? You go first.
So, if it's... See, does he mean just films in general?
I guess.
Or like, okay, so if it was war films, I'd probably choose something like Theirs Is, or Nine Men, just because we've heavily researched them.
Yeah.
And I've seen them a lot. But then if it was like film, I'd go for something like one of the films I mentioned earlier, like Goodfellas, or maybe True Romance. I really like that film as well. Gary Oldman and Christian Slater, or Leon. Quite like Leon. Yeah, something like that maybe.
Film appearances of the Pit.
Oh, you went really in. You bastard, you're gonna win.
Someone's gonna peak Dem O'Leary.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. I'd love to go on Mastermind. I'd love, because sometimes
Yeah.
you sit there and you get more right than they do on their
It's
specialist
the
round.
stress though. You sat in the chair and you got, the lights are on you and
Yeah, it's true.
Clive's staring at you and you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
I've forgotten everything I knew about that.
Yeah. So the next one from Facebook is from Dean Barden, and he asks, which war film locations would you most like to visit?
I'd like to visit the town in Croatia where Kelly's Heroes was filmed.
Yeah, I'd like to do that as well. I saw some people who I follow on Facebook. They were there and they do an airsoft game near there, and they were there all in the kit.
Kelly's Hero airsoft game.
I think it is like that. Yeah,
No
I'd love to go
way.
there and do that. And then I'd love to go to the beach where Nine Men was filmed and try and geolocate where the hut would have been. And I know we have an open invite to do that with Seri Thomas.
Yes.
And I think what we're going to end up doing with that, if you're listening, Seri, is we'll come and do that, but we're going to film it like a War Walks documentary. Because I think that would be really interesting to have a series like that, where you do a walk through a movie, but you try and use the actual locations if it was shot on location.
Yeah.
I think that'd be something. Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let me just double check something.
And as I said, like Oosterbeek, I'd love to go there. Theirs is the glory. You could do a Theirs is the Glory
Oosterbeek
tour.
would be great.
And you could do a market garden tour as well.
For me, one that I always thought would be really interesting to do would be April 9th. Go and see some of the places in Denmark where that was filmed, because I know that they recreated a lot of photographs from
something.
The campaign. Campaign was like 2 days. It'd be cool to see those locations, because then you'd be seeing locations from the film and from the actual battle. But as you said, like going and seeing some of the locations for Theirs Is would be amazing. So we had a few from Instagram as well. We seem to be on most of the social media platforms now, except OnlyFans and Snapchat.
Only Films. If they ever come up with Only Films, we're shooing.
If you're following us on there, then they're imposters. Jordan Sloggett, the co-host of Layer Butter podcast from Canada, we appeared on recently. I don't know if the episode's out yet. It should be out soon, if not. They had us on to talk about war movies.
Yeah, it was great.
And the genre. And he asked, what are your favorite depictions of futuristic weaponry in war movies?
So, I mean, the obvious one is the pulse rifle in Aliens, isn't it? That's the obvious one.
Yeah, the M41A. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Most of the guns out of that franchise I like, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. The other obvious one is the Merita Mark 1 from Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Everyone knows that the pulse rifles are based on Thompson submachine guns.
Yeah.
But not everyone knows that the Meritas are based on Ruger Mini 14s.
They are. And I think even on some of the shots, they're SA-80s in housings as well.
Yeah, there's some talk about that. That's something I would like to really confirm, because
have a little look through.
They're such weird looking guns. Because basically they've strapped a shotgun under. Again, it seems to be like, oh, we're doing a film in the near future. We need to do some strap a shotgun underneath it.
Exactly. Yeah. How is a military weaponry going to develop? I
think like the pulse rifle from Aliens definitely looks a lot nicer than the Starship Troopers rifle.
Yeah, it does.
It's a little bit more ergonomic for one.
It looks like something that would be mass produced in that world.
Yeah, totally. The world building of that film is incredible. Aliens is my favorite of the Alien movies, without doubt.
Without a doubt. Yeah, 100%.
And we will cover that. We will cover that.
We'll cover both of those. Sci-fi. We'll do a sci-fi month. We will do it. I like how
we've been planning that for about 2 years now.
Yeah, we have been. God. I like how Neil Blomkamp uses firearms in his films.
Oh yeah,
He always has a nice mix, especially in something like District 9. Like the designs in that. Yeah, I think that's probably my favourite ones. Yeah.
James Cason asks, will you at some point review the post-war film Now It Can Be Told, all about the SOE, which was filmed in 46? That's kind of like an SOE version of theirs is, from what I know about the movie.
Yes, I think we're meant to be doing that at some point with Kate Vickers.
That would be great. Should be perfect for that,
I
obviously.
think that's what we discussed with her. Yeah, so hang fire on that one. We'll definitely get that one to you.
James also asked, where do you see the show in a year's time? Well, we alluded to that a little bit earlier, didn't we? Before we began answering questions about stuff. But hopefully just continuing to do what we're doing right now, enjoying reviewing movies, meeting people that listen to the show, speaking to really interesting people from the industry, doing a few events. That's what I'm hoping.
Well, that's our mission. We're talking about this early, but we have like this little sort of, I wouldn't say it's like a roadmap of what we want to do with the show, but we say, right, so this year we did X events. Next year, let's try and beat that by one more. Because then that shows growth. So we've already beaten our target from 2021. I think like 5 times over or something.
Yeah.
Just doing more of what we're doing because we love doing it, and it's just how the universe and how it goes when you email someone, really, I guess, and planning and everything else. I mean, I'd love the show to be a little bit bigger, but I think sometimes no, you know what we've got right now is great, and we just need to keep going what we're doing, and it will grow because it has grown. And get some more of these guests on that we've chatted to and book them in and get them done. But obviously, there's only so many weeks in the year. I think in a year's time, I'd just like to be able to say that we bought you the things that we said we were gonna, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
100%. Yeah.
Final question from Instagram is from King Louis 33, and he asked, "What film would you like to see remade, and and how would you make it better?" My immediate thought was not what you might expect. Is probably a bit left wing, a bit obscure. 55 Days at Peking.
Ooh, okay.
Because that is such a fascinating moment in history.
Yeah,
and
that is interesting.
I love that movie. You've got Heston and Niven, which is great. But there's a lot of things in that movie, like the pacing and some of the side stories, could be redone. I think you could just make a really interesting 55 Days at Peking remake.
No, I think you could. For me, well, I'd like to see a Big Red 1 remake made with the budget that Sam Fuller wanted. I think it's a travesty, one of the biggest travesties in the whole genre, really, because Sam does so much work with the studios, with Warner Brothers, to get this film made, and then he just doesn't get to make it. And then by the time he does, he's pulling in loads of favors and he's producing it independently, and just doesn't have the budget or the. It's either because the movie has stars in it, but it's not. Lee Marvin's stars waning at that point. Mark Hamill, as famous as he is from Star Wars, he isn't really an established film star, really, at that point. So it's just a shame to me. I'd like to see a big budget remake of Big Red 1, because I think you could really make quite an epic piece with the right cast and the director and money. Yeah, I think that would be quite something. So I think our final question was actually emailed by Kevin Getz. And sorry if we didn't get to everyone's question, because we just had so many. So he asks, everyone has opinions/suggestions for fixing a rubbish film. But what do you each think is the one film that shouldn't be touched? No edits, no changes, and it's fine the way it is.
See, there's some films that are such classics that you just can't touch them.
Yeah.
And if you did, it wouldn't work. Like we've not beaten around the bush and said that you can't touch Bridge Too Far, because we both said you could cut the James Caan sequence.
There's a good edit. There's a very good fan edit to be made with that. Yeah. Because I'd even cut some other bits.
Yeah. The Cruel Sea. I can't think of
Ooh.
any scenes in that should be cut.
No,
Can
I
you?
wouldn't cut that. Wouldn't cut that myself.
Um,
Theirs is The Glory. It's a perfect film, almost. Don't think you need to cut anything from that.
yeah.
If anything, I think you need to add.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little add. Yeah, a little bit of
Yeah.
adding to that would be great. Ooh. See, one of the sacred films that you just can't touch is like Zulu.
Yeah, can't edit that.
You
No,
can't
you
really.
can't.
I mean, it could stand it, but you just can't.
Mm.
Even Save It Private Ryan.
Yeah, because see, that's the difficult one. I know some people are going to be screaming at their phones right now or their computers, being like, "What that film has did so many cuts," but I think it's one of those movies because it was so influential and it revitalized an entire genre of movies. I think that it is almost untouchable. Yeah, I think you've got a point. That Yangtze incident, don't touch that because that's an absolute classic.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of classics that are classics for the reason that they don't need.
No, they don't need it. Yeah. Yesterday's Enemy for me is one that I would think I'd get really upset if I heard they were remaking it or do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
A dramatic edit. Went the day well.
That's a really good one as well. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything to that. Yeah, and then there's just
What's a film you would edit then, Rob?
Film I would edit.
10 in the question on its head.
Battle of Britain.
Well, leave the doorbell in.
Yeah, I'd leave the doorbell in, but I'd make it a little bit shorter. I'd cut out some of the few of the subplots that I feel like don't really go anywhere.
That is fair.
Not to say I don't like it before people get antsy, but I think some of the movies from back then they could just do with 10, 15 minutes chopping. Just make it a little bit tighter.
I know, you've said that numerous times, that's for sure. Pork Chop Hill is another one that doesn't need anything doing to it, really, other than perhaps some of the negotiating sequences either being contextualized better or perhaps trimmed, and just make it a combat movie, solely a combat movie.
Yes.
With a tiny bit of context. But even then, I don't know whether you need to do that to Pork Chop Hill, because
until you've done the edit and you've watched it.
Yeah,
it's hard to say as well, isn't it? Yeah,
it is.
What about you? Is there anything you'd cut, edit?
I mean, we've already mentioned A Bridge Too Far, but that one you could definitely make a tighter film by cutting in a few places. There'll be one that occurs to me as soon as we hit,
as soon as
we turn, hit stop on record.
I'd cut, actually, to be fair, I'd cut quite a few scenes out of Dirty Dozen. Just to make it a little bit quicker. Because I feel like you could get to that mission a little bit quicker.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of training elements that don't need to be shown in that. Because you've already set them.
It does kind of drag a little bit. Yeah.
Because you've already set the men's characterization up in the scene where they get interviewed. And then I feel like most scenes are just trying to reinforce their character, but we already know this about them. And most of them get to re-show themselves during that mission anyway. So it's like they get 2 bites of the cherry, and I'm like, well, I don't need this because I already know what these people are like.
Yeah.
It's just it gets a bit annoying, even though, again, it is one of those movies where, you think, actually, no, it is one of the Technicolor classics with, Marvin's great and all that. So, yeah. For as many reasons as you come up with, there's so many reasons for not as well.
Oh, absolutely. You could do the same with Zulu Dawn as well. You could trim.
Yeah, God, that is one I would cut massively.
You could trim a fair bit out of that, but also there's so much like context and interesting little tidbits and character bits in it.
Because to me, always seems to me that that's one you almost have to follow on with Zulu. Like I think it could be edited into a fantastic one-piece, really long movie.
Yeah,
because they are direct, like happening after each other.
Well, so they are. Yeah, it's one of that's one of the few the 2 battles that happened within like 24 hours of each other that make it onto, into film.
Yeah,
Two
you're
films.
right. Yeah,
But yeah, good question, Kevin.
very good.
We've had a lot of good questions, actually.
Yeah, we have.
So thank you, everyone that sent one in. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. We love answering these questions every time we run one of these. And yeah, another huge thank you for sticking with us for 100 episodes, because we never thought we'd get this far. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
And mine.
For it, yeah, and Matt's, because you probably might not know, but doing this show has totally revitalized my career, or it gave me a career in military history, and a career in podcasting. So thanks a lot, everybody, for supporting us, because I wouldn't have any of these, or be able to do any of these things that I'm doing outside of the show without it. So really, really means a lot to me.
Means a lot to me too. It's been a really fun outlet for another aspect of my love of history and military history and film, which without it, I would never have had the opportunity to talk about some of the most interesting films ever made.
Exactly.
So can't say thank you enough, really.
No, we can't. Really can't. Yeah. Maybe the last 10 minutes is just us saying thank you over and over and over.
Like a really bad Oscar speech.
Yeah. So as always, time to do that roundup that we don't usually get right enough to sort of edit in from other episodes, but you didn't know that, listeners. So as always, thanks
something
for
about a FOF binge.
I know, yeah, God, yeah, that's become an in joke. So as always, guys, thanks for listening, and here's the next 100, and you can always catch up on episodes you may have missed from the previous 100 episodes at fightingonfilm.com. If you have a FOF binge, do let us know.
Thanks for listening, guys. Catch you next week.
Catch you next week for 101. Bye.
Bye.